25 years ago this week, John Denver when the plane he was piloting plunged into the waters off the California coast. He was 53 years old.
The double life John Denver lived no one knew until now. John Denver, born Henry John Duchendorf Jr. on December 31, 1943, in Roswell, New Mexico, grew up in a military family. His father, Henry Dutch Duchendorf Sr., was a pilot in the United States Air Force. Because of his father's job, the family moved frequently from one military base to another. This meant that Denver never stayed in one place for long. He had to change schools often and could not form long-lasting friendships. The constant moving made him feel like he never truly belonged anywhere. Despite the strict rules and discipline of a military household, music became an important comfort for him. His grandmother gave him his first guitar, which opened a small world of joy amid the structured life he had. As a teenager, he spent long hours alone, learning chords and melodies from folk and country music. These early experiences with music became his private way of expressing himself and finding peace. Eventually, Denver's family settled in Texas, and he attended Texas Tech University. Over time, he realized that music was more important to him than school. He decided to leave college to follow his dream of becoming a singer and songwriter. This was a risky choice because he had no reputation, no contract, and no clear path to success. He left Texas with only his guitar and a few songs he had written and moved to California, where many young folk musicians were trying to build careers. It was there that he chose the name John Denver. He picked this name because of the strong impression the Rocky Mountains of Colorado had left on him and to create a new identity for himself as he began performing in the crowded folk music scene. In 1965, Denver received his first major opportunity when he joined the Mitchell Trio, replacing founding member Chad Mitchell. This was his first real step into the music industry. Touring with the group, he traveled to many cities across the United States and learned how to perform for different audiences. These performances were not always glamorous, but they helped him gain confidence and experience as a professional musician. Between performances, Denver kept writing songs in a small notebook. One of these songs, Leaving on a Jet Plane, would later become famous when recorded by Peter, Paul, and Mary, reaching #1 on the Billboard charts and helping Denver gain recognition as a talented songwriter. John Denver's music style became well known for being gentle and heartfelt. He focused on acoustic guitar, soft melodies, and lyrics about nature, love, and simple living. His songs often painted pictures of peaceful landscapes and quiet life, which made listeners feel connected to the places and emotions he sang about. Even as he became more famous, Denver's music stayed true to these simple, honest qualities. His performances were always warm and sincere, drawing audiences into a personal experience even when performed for large crowds. This style made him different from other artists who used more electric instruments or flashy production. Besides music, Denver cared deeply about issues of freedom and responsibility. In 1985, he spoke before the United States Senate against the parental advisory label system. He worried that warning labels on albums could limit artists' freedom and make people judge their work before hearing it. Denver argued that music should be free to reach audiences without barriers. He also used his music to raise awareness about social and environmental issues. Through his songs, he wanted to encourage people to care for the world and think about their responsibilities to nature and society. In summary, John Denver's life shows the combination of talent, hard work, and personal values. His early experiences with a moving military family shaped his character and gave him a love for music as a private refuge. Leaving college to follow music was a bold step, leading him to California and the start of a professional career. His gentle, heartfelt style of music won him many fans, and his dedication to principles like freedom of expression and social awareness showed that his influence went beyond just songs. John Denver is remembered not only as a singer and songwriter but also as a person who cared about the world and stayed true to his values. How did a young man with little more than a guitar and a dream transform into one of the most beloved voices in music history? Keep watching for more details. The rise of John Denver, music, fame, and personal struggles. John Denver's journey as a musician began in a very humble and quiet way. He started by performing in small clubs and folk venues. These were places where only a few people would gather to listen to music. He moved from city to city, often with very little money, trying to find someone who would notice his talent. Life on the road was not easy. He had to deal with long hours, poor living conditions, and constant uncertainty about whether his music would ever reach a bigger audience. Every day was a struggle, but he never gave up. Early in his career, John Denver joined a group called the Mitchell Trio. He replaced one of the original members. This gave him a chance to perform in front of more people than ever before. It was a big step for him. Being part of the group taught him how to handle the stage, how to connect with the audience, and how to manage life as a working musician. But even with this experience, true recognition still felt far away. He kept writing songs, hoping that one day someone would listen and understand his music. A song that changed everything for him was Leaving on a Jet Plane. It was quiet, emotional, and full of feeling. It spoke about leaving, about missing someone, and about longing. The song was eventually recorded by Peter, Paul, and Mary. When it became a hit, the world started to notice John Denver, the songwriter. For the first time, his talent was recognized on a large scale. People began to see that he was not just another musician, but someone with a special way of writing music that could touch hearts. After that success, John Denver began to focus on his own albums. He worked hard in studios and on stage, creating music that felt personal, gentle, and full of meaning. Songs like Take Me Home, Country Roads quickly made him famous worldwide. That song spoke about home, about comfort, and about a place that made people feel safe. Millions of people loved it, even though the state mentioned in the song, West Virginia, was not where John Denver grew up. The emotion in his voice made everyone feel the song belonged to them. While his public life seemed perfect, his private life was more complicated. John Denver married Annie Martell, and their love story inspired one of his most famous songs, Annie's Song. To the world, it looked like a fairy tale, full of joy and beauty. But the demands of his music career created distance between them. Long tours, recording sessions, and public appearances often kept him away from home. This separation created tension and challenges in their marriage. Close friends later said that John Denver lived a double life, the public figure adored by millions and the private man dealing with loneliness, stress, and emotional highs and lows. During these years, John Denver also became interested in causes bigger than music. He wanted to help people and protect the planet. He worked with organizations like UNICEF and co-founded the Winstar Foundation. These efforts focused on the environment, sustainability, and helping those in need. He believed that artists had a responsibility to do more than entertain, they could make a positive impact on the world. However, not everyone agreed with him. Some people in the music business thought his activism was controversial. They worried it might hurt his career. Still, he continued to speak up for what he believed in, even if it meant facing criticism. Even as fame and success surrounded him, could John Denver balance the demands of his career with the struggles and passions that defined his private life? Stay tuned for more. Later life, aviation, and lasting legacy. As time went on, the music world started to change. New types of music, younger singers, and pop and rock trends slowly took attention away from John Denver's soft folk songs. Even though he kept writing and singing, he was no longer as popular as he had been. This was hard for him. For someone who had been one of the biggest stars in the world, it was not easy to get used to less attention and praise. At the same time, John Denver's personal life went through big problems. His marriage to Annie ended in 1982. This was a very painful time for him. The man who had written one of the most famous love songs now had to face the end of the love that inspired it. He married again later, but the pain from this first breakup stayed with him. Love and relationships were very important to him, but they also brought struggles because his public life took so much of his time and energy. Later in life, John Denver found a new love, flying. Being in the air gave him a sense of freedom that he rarely felt on the ground. Flying let him escape the pressure of fame, the eyes of the public, and the constant demands from everyone. Flying was more than a hobby for him, it was a spiritual experience. He felt close to the wide landscapes he loved, and the sky became a place to be alone with his thoughts. Sadly, this love for flying also led to his death. In October 1997, John Denver was flying a small experimental plane near Monterey Bay, California. The plane crashed into the water, and he died right away. The world was shocked. Fans everywhere were sad to lose someone who had given comfort, joy, and inspiration through music for so many years. Even after his death, John Denver's work has continued to touch people. His songs, his help for others, and his life story show that he was a man with both public praise and private struggles. He was a dreamer, a kind person, and a talented artist. His songs about love, nature, and home still reach millions of people. His life shows how fame can bring both joy and difficulty and how important it is to follow your passions, whether in music, helping others, or flying. If John Denver's music and good works made him so loved and successful, how did his struggles with alcohol, substance, and legal problems start to shape the life behind the happy public image? Let's find out. Career triumphs and personal struggles. John Denver was a singer and songwriter who became one of the most famous and loved artists of his time. He was known for combining pop, folk, and country music in a way that felt natural and heartfelt. His voice was soft, clear, and gentle, which made listeners feel like he was speaking directly to them. Through his music, he shared stories about love, nature, and the simple joys of life. From the beginning of his career, Denver worked very hard. He also visited radio stations to play his music live, often promoting himself directly. This persistence helped him slowly build a fan base and establish his place in the music world. His first major breakthrough came when his song Leaving on a Jet Plane was recorded by the popular folk group Peter, Paul, and Mary. The song topped the charts and introduced Denver's songwriting talent to a large audience. This success opened doors for him to record albums under professional labels, perform on bigger stages, and reach a wider audience. By the early 70s, John Denver's career reached new heights. He released albums that contained songs full of imagery, emotion, and personal reflection. Take Me Home, Country Roads became a universal anthem about longing for home, even though he was not from West Virginia. His other songs, like Rocky Mountain High and Sunshine on My Shoulders, continued to build his reputation as a singer who could touch hearts with music that felt honest and sincere. Television appearances, specials, and live concerts increased his visibility. He even had his own show on the BBC and hosted holiday specials that were watched by millions. His popularity earned him numerous awards, including Grammy Awards and American